Reactions, thoughts. Rest in peace, George Floyd.
I got a whole lot to say, but I don't know if this is the place to say it.
Please say it. I think everyone on this call is in a very powerful position. These are powerful, powerful decision makers. You know that we're surrounded by influencers. We are the change we want to see. Isabel is from France. Radhika is from India. I'm Nigerian. Matt is from Ghana. You're American. Stacy's all American.
Este say, Matt.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, we can. Matt, you want to touch on it, or you?
No, I'll let you go first, and then maybe
I probably got over 200 phone calls from some very influential, powerful people and some policy makers. I've been working on something for a very long time since Eric Garner. I've been writing my own legislation to propose reform. I'm good friends with Senator Parker in New York and Nikki Haley, our former governor of South Carolina, and and I think that this is, and not to mention that the last two gentlemen who just died, they died over less than $40. If you were to calculate the total, if you were to take Eric Gardner, he had a Lucy cigarette, which is, I'm in New York. I live in New York. It's $1. And George Floyd, they accused him of having a fake $20 bill, which, by the way, they've never found. And any of these two offenses are non-criminal. And I don't even think it's even a ticket worthier offense. So how can we as a nation, and it shows us who we are and where we are as a nation. We're really far behind because I believe that we're only as strong as our weakest link. But to allow man to be murdered senselessly in front of the world, ultimately, doesn't matter where you're from. We all have a heart, and that was someone's son. So I think that there's a lot. Matt, it's crazy because I'm looking at you, brother. You're an African brother, man. You're just like me, and you understand what we've been through to get to where we've gotten. And one thing that we've never allowed that to do was treat anybody around us less than. But everyone around us knew we were different. And if people tell you they don't see color, stay far away from them. Because you're supposed to see color. But I think that moving forward, though, I'm not Martin Luther King. I'm not Malcolm X. I'm neither one of those guys. But I've learned a lot through both of those men and through leaders that we have now, like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and, Diddy or Sean Carter, these guys. I've been blessed to sit next to some of the most powerful people in the world. And so how I'm going to use my influence is not by going out and setting fires to police precincts or destroying property, but is to propose legislation and change now, not later. And I'm not waiting for the polls, because if you understand economics, your vote does not matter if you do not have an economy. And we don't have an economy. And so I sit back and I watch our young black men and women get treated a certain way because the neighborhoods and communities that they live in, they don't own anything. So no matter how they're treated when they walk in a bodega or a pizza shop or a grocery store or a luxury shoe store, they're going to be treated differently because the owners of those stores do not look like them, and they understand that they have to come back to spend their dollar. So when you do not have an economy, your vote does not matter. And we've got whites that are here on this panel, and we're here to shoot straight. My wealthy white friends tell me all the time they don't vote. They lease and buy politicians. No one is waiting in line for hope. When you have an economy, you can generate the revenue and wealth to lease police, judges, or whoever you need within your community. But now it's mandatory reform. There's no way that Minnesota has 89% black people in their inner cities, but 98% of the police officers are Caucasian, that do not understand the struggles and live in the outer city, in the suburb, that just want to go home to their families. The same thing in New York City. You got guys that are coming from Rhode Island that are training, and they're rookie cops, and they're thrown in the heart of New York City, East New York, Brooklyn. Never been around anybody that looks differently than them. The first thing that they want to do is go home. So we have to look at this as a community, all of us, because it affects all of us. If I sneeze here, that doesn't mean it doesn't affect someone in India. That's the frequency that we've created. And the earth is very vulnerable at the moment. So we all have to come together to make change, to write policies. And if we're going to vote, Matt, one of the things that I've proposed is that we do what's called a block vote. There's 43 million black Americans in the U.S. We put all our votes in that one vote, and we don't care who that vote goes to, Democratic or Republican. Whoever gives us the most gets that block vote. And that's how we should be proposing change in this country. Period. No more marching in Kumbaya. It is our job as millennials to change the world, which we've already done. We've added flavor into the wine and spirits industry. We've added flavor into the tech space. But now we need to implement a strategy that our children and our children's children can live in a safer place and change the systemic racism that's going on in America, because America is the driving force of systemic racism around the world. We are the leader. So this must change with us. And I'm, Sharma, Isabel, Denise, whatever that I can do, even if you guys have ideas and we want to walk them directly into the White House, we have access to the White House. I'm not here to point fingers at who's racist, who's not racist, who's this, who's that. It's non-negotiable when it comes to racism. No one should tolerate it. And every single one of us on this phone, unless we have $1 trillion in our account, we're not privileged. Not in that aspect. So it affects all of us as a community. And I think that that's just my opinion, 10,000 foot view. You know, we can go more in depth later, but I'm very passionate about it. I cried many nights. Because I've had family members that have been wrongly accused of crimes, and because of their economic status, they were going against the state. And who's going to beat them if they have no money? And that's the way that the system has been set up, where you have 43 million black men, but half of the culture is in prison. How do you have 43 million people, but half of them are in prison when there's 191 million whites? So if we're going to talk about racism and reform, we're going to have to talk about things that may not be sensitive. Or count me out. You know, but the reason why I built Billionaires Row was to have a voice, and so that young people can have a voice and inspire to be great. And I'm willing to die for it. And if you're not willing to die for that, then you should just step off of all platforms, stop doing what you're doing as an entrepreneur. It's done. So we have a responsibility, and not to hold up everybody. I know I've been going on and on and on, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much for that. You definitely was the perfect person, you know, born to share that knowledge with those of us here. I know the Bible says many are called, but few are chosen. And I do believe everyone on this panel is a chosen one. Isabel reached out to me before George Floyd. You know, she didn't have to. And I don't want to cry, but she didn't have to. Radhika supported me before George Floyd, and she didn't have to. Stacy, she asked me to be interviewed. I'm like, why do you care about what I think? She says, I think you're a leader. You know, I want to hear what you have to say. So, you know, I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak. I want to hear from Stacy. I want to hear from Radhika. I want to hear from Isabel. I want to hear from Matt.
So maybe, go ahead.
No, please, you first.
Okay, so I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be there tonight to listen. When I saw the 8 minutes of silence on a virtual event, you know, where 1 minute, so I was thinking it's very, very courageous, and I was a little bit puzzled what I'm going to do in 8 minutes of silence in a meeting where we are supposed to be efficient all the time. And actually, I was trying to use that time to remember all what happened in a few days, and it wasn't enough time at the end. So that was a very powerful experience. I want to share with you that, you know, I come from a place of color blindness. I think that's a term that is used. Coming from a different country where English is not my native language, America is not my culture, so there's a lot of concepts and facts that I'm learning along the way, and where I definitely have my challenges to learn about those facts. I have a few key events in my time in America that definitely opened my eyes, and I'm far away from being at the end of that journey. I don't know if I will ever be at the end of that journey. And so a few things that really opened and was key in that is a few facts, like when I heard for the first time that Black women are more likely to die while giving birth in the US than white women. The first time I saw that, I was like, no, it's not true. It can't be. There is no biological reason for that. So I was like, that's, and then I read more and more, and I was like, actually, it's true. And why is that? So, and learning about the constant stress and the lack of insurance and lack of access to healthcare. So all those systemic things that are actually having life and death impact on people. So that was a very important moment for me. Or, learning about how kids after in the 60s, when they finally combined schools, but then they kind of never hired the Black teachers. So Black kid never had a Black teacher, and what does it mean for them, and how can they build their identity, and how can they be understood in that culture? So that was also for me a very important and key moment, especially because of my interest for education. So, and then, we've seen too many of people killed by the police. I think the video of George Floyd was very long, very cruel, very violent. The other video we had were maybe sometimes a little bit less plastic in what they were showing. But sometimes I was like, I still have questions that show that I'm not at the end of my journey. I'm like, hey, asking for police to not be violent about a specific group, isn't that a low bar? That's a place where I come from and where I have my challenges to grasp all what a large part of the population is facing. Mass incarceration is just blowing my mind, because this has been, it's even kind of coming from the Constitution, which is just for me like a big question mark how that can happen. So I think we all have a responsibility. We all should, jump in, go on the streets. I've done that with my kids here in Mountain View, so it's not it's not New York, but and make sure we give everyone, and especially the kids, we cannot steer the future of all the kids because we don't react. So I have many Black friends actually coming from Europe or being married with European people and with small kids, and I'm like, it's not possible that those kids won't have the same chances as other kids. And I think there's a statistic that was also kind of killing me, saying even when Black people, manage to get good job and be well integrated in society, it's not a given that their kid will start at the same point and kind of build on that, like it is the case for white people. So if you always start from scratch, what kind of hope can you have for your future? And that's the French part of me is like, why haven't you done the revolution much earlier? So it's I'm far away from doing enough. I'm far away from knowing enough, and I'm committed to to work more on that. But in any way, I hope that your message and our message, because it's not only coming from you. That's the kind of society we want, where everyone has the same chances. We all hope that this is coming, and rather soon than later.
1,000.
Now that was incredible. The part where you someone else can actually see and identify that when we have children, it's very true that they have to start from scratch. And that in itself plays to the inequality that exists. Radhika, Stacy, Matt, please share your thoughts.
I'll just make it. I totally agree with both of you, and I think what you said is absolutely right. There is one saying that I grew up, and I think it's in my DNA now. My mom used to say, "Do to others as you wish them to do to you," and I think that is one mantra that I have grown up with my entire life, and it's like a reflection on how I am behaving with the other person treats. And it tells me from their expressions how they take what it is to be and how they view you as a person or as an individual. For me, it's more than the color, it's the way you think. You rise above everything else with the way you behave with a person or you act with a person rather than what position you are in or how much money you have. That is all secondary because we come empty-handed, we go empty-handed. But what you do in this life is the one that is going to stay as a legacy for you, for the rest of for you, for your kids, your family, and for the next generations to come. So the second mantra that I work with is make a mark before you leave. And you cannot make a mark unless until you do something good. It's not what you do matters, it's how many people think what you did matters for me. So that's the policy I follow, and I have no shame in apologizing, even with my kids when they say, "Mom, you said this," and I'm like, "I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it that way." Sometimes they're taken aback, saying that, "Seriously, parents can apologize?" And I'm like, it's very hard, but it's something that I have learned over a period of time to say that you accept your mistakes, but at the same time, you stand firm for what you do. I just leave it to that statement because I think no words can express what happened, but it's only the thoughts and the way we move forward is the way we can change anything.
Thank you, Radhika. I hope you know we can't see your beautiful face. We see a gorgeous photo, but your video is off. Oh, there you are. Thank you.
There you
Stacy, we can't see you, but we want to hear you. Oh, did she? Are you there? Okay, there she
I'm
is.
still here. I'm still trying to get this silly video thing. Whatever. I'm not as Luddite as it would appear to be right now.
Do you see bottom left corner start video or stop video button?
I do, yeah, and it's got resume video on there, and when I do that, it just looks like it's me frozen. I don't know if you can see that one.
That's why I put the picture on, because it's actually freezing up on me.
Yeah, so sorry, guys. I wish I could, provide a bit of eye contact to go along with this. I mean, I'm so humbled to even just be a part of this discussion right now. It's pretty powerful. To say that I am incredibly frustrated and embarrassed, and I don't even. I really honestly I don't have a framework to comprehend a lot of even what is happening right now. I mean, I haven't spent my life feeling the impacts of systemic racism against me, and I get to kind of walk in my life, kind of living things, kind of blissfully ignorant to some of these things, and then you just get hit like a truck or like a train with some of these things, and and it. I mean, a counterfeit bill, like a cigarette. I mean, what are we even talking about here? I mean, that 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the entire time I was sitting there thinking to myself, what if I was gasping for breath right now? What if I were gasping for my air? Like, at every single second that ticked by, I just thought to myself, it's beyond words. And as a mother of 2 young boys, oh my God, I would be beside myself if that were my son. And to think that there are people out there who can treat other human beings this way, I, as I said, I don't have a frame to comprehend it. So I still think I'm still reeling from a lot of it in a lot of different ways, from a lot of different perspectives. And again, to just say that I'm so unbelievably humbled by each one of you here today is an understatement. And what I feel as though my little bit that I can continue to contribute is to continue to seek to understand, to do my best to empathize in every way possible, and to, in every opportunity where it might be uncomfortable for me to speak my mind and to disagree, that I should and will and could do that with power and conviction, and without fear of how I might look to those other people. Because I truly believe that that's why, that's my purpose, is to, be there and support those who don't have a voice or who can't in that moment, and to do my best to provide that in the area of influence that I can. Sorry, I didn't expect it to kind of hit me that way as I was trying to articulate myself, but
that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful from you ladies, hearing this from you, hearing your perspective, and that gives me hope. Matt, for example, I don't know if you remember the South Carolina shooting with, I think it was Dylan Roof. He walked into a Baptist church in Charleston, South Carolina, and he prayed with all the members in the church before he shot and killed 9 and injured another. And the police, with a 45 caliber, when the police got there, they put a bulletproof vest on him and drove him to Burger King and fed him, and then took him to jail. And we'll never get those 9 lives back. As someone who walked into a Baptist church and just senselessly took their lives. So the scale, so I brought that up to just say the scale of police tactic in America. These things have to change, and so that your sons won't ever have to feel the effect of the karma that's being created, or the karmatic energy that's being created from these things. So your son is my son.
It's real. It's heavy. Man. And I'm sure it felt the same way for all of you as well. That 8 minutes and 40 seconds felt like eternity, right? I looked up, it was 30 seconds. I looked up, it was 2 minutes, and we weren't even half the way there. And that police officer was on his neck for that long. Like he could have turned around at any moment, right? And kind of let up on him, and he didn't. That was intentional. He was there to take that man's life. And yeah, things do feel different. This is not a new fight by any means, right? Deep down inside, I feel like, things feel different. But also as Americans, we have short-term memories, right? We're all out there marching, but, in a couple months, are we going to forget about all this, right? And is change really going to be there? And I hope this is the time and the moment that real change comes about. We everybody has to play a role in this. It's not about just not being racist. It's about being anti-racist, right? And it's not enough to teach your kids just not to hate Black people, but why to hate the people that are putting out that other hate, right? And that's a bigger fight. But yeah, I mean, I think this is an awesome conversation. This is a start. And, you know, more of this dialogue needs to happen. But there's a lot of work that needs to happen in general. But I appreciate, you know, us coming together and chipping away at this.
Nicely put. Matt always knows how to close out a show.
Wrap it up. Yeah.
So it's been an honor and a great pleasure for you all to journey with me into the Run the World app. You can definitely be rest assured the conversation will continue. And we'll continue to find ways to connect. We're not going to allow some pandemic to separate us, but let's use it to be limitless in reaching one another. I want William and Matt to connect, chat, you know, that beverage industry, Martell, you know, and Billionaires Row champagne brand. And Matt being a brand ambassador, and he's a huge social influencer in this community. And Radhika and Isabel, you definitely have to connect. And Stacy is the best host ever that didn't actually get to host. But like I said, she's probably going to be with me on the next one. We'll definitely have more coming up. I just secured our land. She's with Backstage Capital. She's going to promote her book. So the next event is July 30th. In the meantime, stay safe. Thank you for supporting SB I love you guys for loving me. And I pray for your family, and I pray for change that will help us be more united.
We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you so
everybody,
much.
thank you so much for listening, and it was great.
Thank you.
Just
I
as a
want to connect
closing
with
statement, I
everybody.
would like to say every drop fills the ocean. So whatever we do as an individual will come together as a bigger society tomorrow.
Amen.
I totally agree. And if there's any way